A little bit about me. I'm currently a flight instructor at Centennial Airport. And about, want to say about a year and a half ago, no, about 2 years almost, I overheard something in the flight school. It was a flight instructor telling their student, kind of a warning, like, hey, be careful. If you see a therapist through insurance, they likely have to diagnose you so that insurance accepts and will pay for it. And I was like, oh, that's some new information that I've never heard before. And I was like, I've seen a few therapists from age like 21 to about 23. So I decided to do my homework and reach out to those therapists and just ask, like, did you guys diagnose me with anything? What was it? And I got the sad news that they had diagnosed me with substance abuse and substance dependence. I was 21. I was, yeah, struggling with kind of controlling how much I was drinking, learning boundaries and all that. They had also diagnosed me with like mild anxiety, and like temporary depression from a breakup. But the FA didn't super harp on those ones. It was more the substance that they wanted to look into. Um, so I was nervous. I didn't really know what route to take. So I went on Reddit for advice, and they basically said, your career's over. It's going to take so much money, so much time, and the airlines won't want you when you're done with it. So that was terrifying, and untrue, that I found out later. So then I decided to get some help from maybe someone that knew a little bit more about the whole situation. So I reached out to AOPA and I got a consultation through them. And the guy on the phone kind of laid out like all the steps I had to take. I was like, okay, that's more understandable. I get that. And then he kind of laid out, he's like, if you're trying to decide whether to tell the FA or not, let me tell you something. And that is, if you have an accident and you're expecting insurance, like the flight school's insurance to cover it, the insurance company would probably look into all of your medical records and they would probably be the one to find this. And then if you had ever lied on a Med Express to the FAA or not disclosed something you knew, you'd be in trouble with the FAA. You'd also have to pay for that accident because you technically don't have a medical. And so that really helped with my decision making. That and the fact that I was just thinking about it for a few days and it was causing me so much anxiety, really. Just like, what do I do? This all seems so awful. And I finally made the right choice and decided to just be honest about my situation. So I left my job as a flight instructor for a little while, got a different job, and then told my AME, like, hey, this is what I have in my history. I was seeing Dr. Dillon at the time before she retired, and she asked me the four questions that the FA needs to ask about substance. I believe it's dependence is the really bad one. They're both not great, but um, and the questions were like, have you ever drank more to get the same effect? And I was like, well, yeah. Have you ever, while intoxicated, drank more than you planned to? Yes. Have you ever had withdrawal symptoms? No. And then has alcohol ever like interfered in your personal life, losing a job, losing a partner, anything like that? And that was a no for me as well. Because I answered yes to two of those questions. The FAA basically in their eyes, I was an alcoholic. So she was a great AME and she kind of laid out all the steps that I would need to do in order to get my medical back. And, she was honest that they would cost some money and they would take some time, but it is doable. So I kind of started down the path. We let the FAA know that I self-disclosed to the FAA. And then we started like doing random urine tests. I started attending AA and stuff like that. I had to then switch to another AME because she had retired. And that was Dr. Harris. And I kind of filled him in on my situation. And then the FAA got back to me and was like, hey, we need you to do a psychiatric evaluation. And so I looked into different people, different options. I picked someone that was close by, relatively cheap, about $3,000, and it had a decent reputation. That went well. That was just kind of telling him my whole history with alcohol, basically. And then after about a month, he got that submitted to the FAA. And then it was just kind of, wait around, see what happens. I never stopped, fighting to get my medical back, but sometimes there's not too much you can do. So we waited a few months to kind of hear back from the FAA. We weren't hearing anything. So I remembered what Dr. Dillon said, and she said, you got to do outpatient, like most likely, and you'll have to most likely do 90 and 90, so 90 AA meetings in 90 days. So I was like, I'll start with the outpatient. I've got a good job. They provide good insurance. It'll cost me my maximum out of pocket of 3 grand. And I have time after work to attend outpatient, which outpatient is basically like rehab, but you don't sleep there. So I attended that from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And it cost, like I said, about 3 grand. About a month in, my insurance was like, "Why are we paying for this? You've been sober for, almost a year now, and you don't have any other like mental health issues." So they stopped paying for it, and then outpatient was like, "Well, would you like to pay for it?" And I was like, "I can't afford it. It's very expensive." So then I left, but I left after a month, like 28 days total there, and that's the magic number apparently that the FAA is wants you to attend outpatient for is 28 days at least. So then I moved on to 90 and 90. I got that completed. I said, I've improved, I've changed, I'm really deep into my sobriety now. Maybe I'll meet with the same psychiatric evaluator, get it like a re-up evaluation for about $500. And then we sent that into my AME. And then again, I was just kind of twiddling my thumbs, just like, okay, what can I do? And then I met with my AME because I wanted to see like where is everything in the progress of all this? Like, when will I be able to fly again? And I'm glad I did because it was in that meeting that he informed me, like, oh, I was just waiting for you to set up a meeting with me so that I could, see your progression and recommend you to the FAA to get your special issuance medical. And I was like, oh, that would have been great to know. Glad I scheduled an appointment, but wish you had told me that we needed to meet in order for you to recommend me. And so that was like called a consultation. I think that cost like $400 or something like that. Um, so we got that. He recommended me. And then again, I was just waiting to hear back. So it took about 8 months from sending in my psychiatric evaluation to hear back from the FAA at all. And they said, hey, we want you to do a neuropsychological evaluation. And I was like, okay, all right, let's do this. The whole process is a lot of like hurry up and wait. You get a lot done, you work as fast as you can, and then you wait for the FAA. So I was expecting that again. So I scheduled the neurological evaluation as soon as possible. I went with someone that had a great reputation and could back up, that the way she presents her findings to the FAA is what they want and what they accept most of the time. I met with her for about higher than maybe average, about 6 grand. I think you can do it maybe for 4 grand, but I wanted it done quick and I wanted it done correctly. So that was kind of just testing my brain, memory, quick addition, cognitive functions, all that. And then once that was over, we sent that in, and I was expecting to wait a while. But it was not even a month later that the FAA said, all right, here is your special issuance. And I was just ecstatic. That was the best news I could have heard. So all in all, the process took about a year and a half, which I think I'm pretty lucky on that. I think a lot of them usually take 2 years, but I'm not sure. Every situation's different. And then it ended up costing me about 16 grand. Like I said, I, opted for maybe some people with more experience that cost a little bit more in certain situations. And I got lucky with the outpatient using my work insurance. Um, But yeah, and then yeah, like I said, I got my special issuance, and it's been amazing. I was able to get my job back. Everyone's been, so kind about the whole process. I tell some people, and but not everyone. And uh, you know, it was frustrating because, like I said, it was a lot of kind of just hurry up and then wait for the FAA. And I didn't have clear skies ahead, so I didn't know if I was doing everything correctly. Um, and then another kind of frustrating part was just that AME not letting me know that we needed to meet again in order for him to recommend me. But that's just things you kind of learn along the way. But what helped me a lot throughout the process was honestly my sobriety. If the FAA hadn't required me to be sober in order to fly, I don't think I have would have had the motivation to kind of get my stuff together and pull that trigger. And my sobriety has given me so much freedom and just happiness and gratitude. So I wouldn't trade that for anything. Um, and yeah, the other things that kind of helped throughout the process was just never giving up and just trying to work through their steps as quick as possible. Um, Now on to like what could have helped me. That would definitely be clear skies ahead. I wish I had known some more information about the process, and I think they could have helped with that. I also didn't know about this thing called Birds of a Feather, which is like AA meetings for pilots. I didn't know about that till about like 6 months into my sobriety. And that could have given me some guidance. The pilots in there could have been like, hey, you're doing the right steps, keep your chin up, and enlightening me on their process as well. So those are just some things that maybe would have helped me sooner. But honestly, like going through this whole system, it was a little frustrating. But it's put me in touch with like so many amazing people, so many amazing pilots. Um, and their support has been, so helpful. And as you guys know, like aviation is a lot of like who you know. And now I know a lot of great sober pilots. So, it has been kind of a blessing in disguise. My advice for anyone listening is kind of just don't listen to Reddit. It doesn't always know what it's talking about. And never stop fighting for, your dreams. You can obtain this, or I guess I can't say that, but I also just wanted to add one last thing that the FAA doesn't really care about, any excuses you could, get out of your pockets and fess up to them. Like they don't care about that. Really, they just want to be able to trust you to fly around the general public. And I think that's some of the reason they do some of the things that they do, and the requirements that they have is they just want to know that you're safe and trustable. Um, and yeah, I just want to say that I'm really happy with the decisions that I made to tell the FAA. If I hadn't, I would probably just be, living in fear. And they could come after me at any time. And going forward too, like if I was lying on the Med Express repeatedly saying like, oh, I don't think I have any diagnoses, even though I knew that I did. I don't know if they would ever follow through with this, but technically it's like a federal offense. And they could come after me for like a $250,000 fine and like 5 years in prison. So that scared me also. But I'm really glad that I went the honest route. Um, Life is just so much easier. I have so much more gratitude for where I'm at in my flying. And I'm definitely not taking for granted like this amazing step that is flight instructing. I really enjoy it and I missed it dearly when I was going through this process, and it was worth fighting. It was worth fighting for. Um, Thanks. I think that's all I've got. Sorry if I talked for too long. Um, yeah, thanks for having me.